I'm Andre J, and today I'd like to talk to you about the new titler program for the VSCR Pi called Henlo World. I almost called it Henlo World. Did I say Hello World? It's Hello World. I almost called it Henlo World or Henlo World. Maybe I should have done that. It's too late now. It would have been a ridiculous thing to do, but as you may have noticed, I'm pretty okay with doing ridiculous things in general. So, yeah, I also want to talk about, so there's a bunch of different ways that you can swap between the various VSER Pi applications, firmware things. The simplest way, and what I recommend if you're trying to do so in like a live performance or for like a jam or something where you don't really want to like mess around with like an additional keyboard, is just to make separate SD card images, keep them in a little binder or the little SD card plastic thingies, and just swap them in and out. Make sure that your Pi is, the VSCR Pi is powered down when you pull SD cards in and out, but otherwise it's that simple. On the other hand, if you don't have a whole bunch of SD cards around, or you just kind of want to try things out, you can use the master boot option, and I've made videos about that before, and I'll probably talk about master boot for the next episode of this series. But I want to show you another way that you can set your any image you have to auto-run a different image. So what I've done is I've booted up Chromatic Aberration, the search for Sasquatch, and I made sure that I had a keyboard and a mouse plugged in before I booted in. So what I'm going to do is press Escape on the keyboard, and it'll come out to this little desktop environment. If I click over on this icon, which is a terminal, it's going to run through some text and try to auto-run Chromatic Aberration once more. We're just going to let it auto-run and boot up Chromatic Aberration, and wait a second. It'll take a moment for the video to load up. We can all just take a moment to enjoy a delicious cup of warm tea with honey. Today I'm drinking yellow tea with a little bit of cola nut, ground cola nut, and creamed honey. Okay, so brought to you by Yellow Tea. We've loaded up again, so I'm going to press Escape one more time, and now we can actually access the terminal. If I just press up on the keyboard, you can see it's going to go through all of the last set of instructions I gave it. So press up once and it says reboot. Press up twice. You may have to press up more than once or twice to get to this, but what we want to do is see where it says it's sudo nano tilde, or sudo space nano space tilde /.bashrc. We hit enter there, and then I'm going to page down all the way, and you see when we get down to the bottom of this page, we see that there's all these things where it's like a number sign or a hashtag, and then CD, home Pi, blah 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 blah, wave pool, make run. See, all of these have a little number sign in front of them except for Chromatic Aberration. So these instructions are how we tell the VSCR Pi what to auto-run. So if I add a number sign in between these two lines, and I go down to hello where it says hello word, and I delete the number sign from there, I press Control X, it'll say save modified buffer, enter Y, file name to write, don't change anything about the file name, just hit enter, and then I'm going to type reboot. I'm going to make sure I can spell reboot correctly first, and then it'll reboot. The splash screen will stay the same as whatever you had running on it previously, and I can show you all this. There's actually instructions on the desktop on how to change splash screens or remove the splash screen entirely if you don't like them. Yeah, there's the Chromatic Aberration splash screen. But once we load up, it'll load directly into Hello World. So hello, hello. And I might actually, I'm going to want to move maybe my video a little bit. We'll make me a little bit smaller in here so we can see what's going on. So I'm very tiny now. Actually, let's do this. Wow. So in case this maybe is mildly confusing, let me just tell you what's going on right here is that we've moved the VSCR Pi screen all the way over to the right side of this screen, so you can see what's going on. But Henlo World is a titler application. So you have to have a USB keyboard plugged in. You don't need the USB camera for this. I sort of intended the original use for this to be you just plug this into another mixer and then like can black key, like Luma key into black, whatever you want under this. Another thought I had, like only when I wrote the manual, is wait, we could also make it so you could plug video in and it would just go on top of the video to begin with. That's probably a better idea, so I'll make sure to do that in the update and make it so you can turn the video on or off or something, but either way. For now, it just does titling things. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to note is that, so I want to show everyone, and I want to make sure everyone kind of knows all this sort of background on like how to manage the different firmware things on here, how they can sort of like explore things that are happening like otherwise in the background, like how do these things like automatically know which one to run if they have all of the firmwares for everything on them, and pretty much everything does at this point. Like how do they know which one to run? It's that bash RC file. Editing that and changing things in that will allow you to auto-run different things. If you want to use this as sort of a devoted, you can use these as devoted media players too, and that's probably another episode I should do. So you can also use the bash RC thing to load different files in for media playing. That's what I do whenever I need like media player functionality. Well, mostly I just use the command line to do that anyway, but you can also set things up to auto-run. But yeah, the sort of interest of that is, so Henlo World is never going to be for sale. Things like Henlo World, Generic Geometry Utility, Super Heckle Adventures 64, they're these members of the video synthesis ecosphere Pi, which are not really intended for resale, like selling in my Etsy shop. Although, if you've been watching all of these videos and paying attention to what's going on, like the Etsy shop kind of doesn't exist anymore. I don't really feel like I'm sort of taking the chance where like, one, Raspberry Pis just aren't really reliably available for production at the moment. They will be in the future, but it doesn't really make sense for me to be selling things on a regular basis if it might take like more than 2 or 3 months to fulfill an order. I know that's how some things operate. It's not really my preferred method of dealing with stuff. Maybe things will change in the future. But yeah, so I'm operating on a new sort of game plan for development and video synthesis tool development. Is that I don't know if I do want to really open up the Etsy shop again full-time and do the whole manufacturing Raspberry Pi video synthesizers. Like, it's so easy to put them together and to like acquire things, assuming you can find a Raspberry Pi, that it kind of feels like I'm honestly doing all of you a disservice in like pretending that there's anything remotely difficult or complicated about it. I don't really enjoy running a business. That was never my goal. Like, I am more of I like to do creative R&D. I'm an artist, and I like to build tools for myself to use art, and I also like to be able to share these tools with other people so they can make art as well. But running a business and like advertising shit and like encouraging people to like buy things, it's kind of like not what I want to be spending a majority of my time on anymore. You may have noticed like the moment that Wave Pools came out, there was like 5 titles that got released immediately and then like nothing else for a while. And I said I was working on a video mixer, and where the fuck is the video mixer? It's mostly because like it's really hard to like actually focus. The amount of time it takes to develop something actually new, like all the things I cranked out immediately was stuff I'd been developing like over the previous 10 years of just designing stuff for myself and processing and open frameworks and stuff. But actually putting together new things requires a lot more time and focus that, like, if I need to, like, stop every week to, like, you know, call a warehouse and be like, hey, where the heck was the $2,000 worth of components I ordered 3 months ago, or advertise on, like, my Instagram. Like, I'm kind of, like, grossed out by how much my Instagram became just, like, advertisement for this stuff. Like, it's just not a lifestyle I'm really interested in, like, pursuing full-time anymore. prefer a world where I can just develop these things and then share the instructions, make everything really clear on how people can build them and how people can like access them and modify them for their own purposes. And one way I'm going to try out in the right now and in the future is allowing people to subscribe to my Patreon. And if enough people subscribe to my Patreon account, then I'll be able to like focus on this even more full time than I was before. So that means that I'll be able to work more on the desktop versions. I'm going to be able to work more on upgrading all of these things to work with like different hardware setups, like Raspberry Pi 4s, Jetson Nanos, and/or FPGA boards, all of which will still remain public domain, open source for everyone to access and modify and use however they like. And yeah, just like try a different lifestyle. Like basically, if like a couple hundred people just donate $5 a month, I'll be able to focus on like actually doing the things I'm good at, like R&D and experimenting with this kind of stuff. Like I'm not really good at running a business. I feel like I guess I was kind of good at advertising, but it feels really fucking gross to be good at advertising. So I don't want to be good at it. Whatever. So that's the spiel. Support me on Patreon if you're interested in embarking on this weird new experimental journey. You can also go to my website. I will probably do a couple of limited runs of this stuff still throughout the year if you want to buy things from me. So I don't want to like completely count that one out because it might just be necessary for me to get by and pay rent and all that crap in order to keep doing this. So yeah, but you'll have to sign up for the notifications list to be able to buy anything. I'm not sure if I'm even going to open up the Etsy shop again or just sell direct from my website. Yeah, so that's sort of the pledge drive part. Let's get into what the heck is Henlo World. So some of y'all may have worked with like hardware titlers before. Videonics makes them, Panasonic makes little titlers that plug into all their mixers. Basically what they do is allow you to just type type things out and then they get keyed into video signals. This means that you can do fun stuff like add text in real time to your live video performance. This could be fun for like doing live weird poetry things. Or just if you're doing visuals at a club to just toss words out there into the mix, or doing visuals for bands, you can tell everyone what the band is, etc., etc. But yeah, a lot of stuff you can do with a titler. I thought it was really overdue to figure out how to get one of these happening. So this is a very, very bare bones titler. The basic functionality is, so something to note is you just type things. And if you don't hit return to get to the next line, it's not going to wrap around. So that's how bare bones it is you do actually have to sort of like manually do like a screen return, otherwise it'll write for forever. I think at some point, if you just like did that for forever, at some point you'd probably like crash the thing. I think you'd probably have to type like millions of letters to do that, but just so you know, don't sit down on the keyboard while you're using this. That could have some negative effects. So yeah, basically use the titler thing, the text thing to title. And what else you can do is, so with the NK2, you can control the hue of the, well, you control the color. It's an RGB color, 3 knobs that control RG and B, and then another knob that controls the, what do you call it? Alpha. And the main reason I added the reason I did RGB is because it was just easier than HSB for some reason, and the reason I added the alpha in is because it's a nice way to sort of easily fade in and out of the text, especially if you're keying things in. Is you just turn the alpha knob up all the way and it'll just fade your text out. So kind of a smooth way to get in and out of this. And then you can also change the position. So you can move things over in X and Y, and you can see that all that stuff that I wrote that was off the screen is still there. And then you can zoom things in and out. And you can see that this is fully rasterized. This is not vectorized at all. You can zoom it way in, you can zoom it way out. You can also rotate things in 3 dimensions. So you can do this thing if you want to do like some kind of like on-screen like what was that movie the Star Wars style like text crawl. I don't have it animated yet, but if you just keep typing and pressing return, maybe that would work. Actually, it wouldn't quite work. You can only really do 1 page at a time. But you can also rotate things in the Z direction, so it's Y, X, and Z. So that's pretty bare bones. It's already like, the 3-dimensional rotation things already kind of makes it way different than any titler I think that ever existed. But yeah, so that's more or less the basics of Henlo World. And like I said, obviously, probably for the next version of this, I'm going to add in a video input that just automatically gets keyed in because duh. The next thing I would think about is, so there's a lot of free knobs and a lot of buttons that aren't being used for anything. So probably the thing to do is just write in the comments here, what do you think would be cool things to add to this titler? Probably some ability to like load up or to have like a bunch of different fonts in a library and then like switch between the fonts in real time would be like the one main thing I can think of. Like maybe like you have 5 different fonts and each one of these buttons will switch which font you're in. That seems like a pretty obviously useful thing. Something else to note is that so you're kind of stuck with this one default monospace font that I really like. It's an OCR. I really like OCR. It's in like it's the logo. It's the default logo for all of the VSCR Pi. You may have noticed. But if you want to change out the font, I'm going to figure out how to make this a little bit easier in the future. But the simplest way to change out the font is you're going to want to have a .ttf, your true type font file, on hand in a little USB drive. And where we're going to go is escape out of the thing and go into, so we've got this Open Frameworks folder right here, Apps, My Apps. You can see it's got all the apps in here. All of the different firmware things are in here. You can run every single one of the VSCR Pi from any one of the other ones, although it'll be, well, actually not the ones. I made it so you have to have the DAC versions to really properly use AutoMesh, AutoWave, and FOSForm. But otherwise, if you have the AutoWave, AutoMesh, FOSForm, one of those images, you can run anything else on there too. We go into Henlo World, bin, data, fonts. So here's where it's just loading this font. So if I just copy this font, or I like, let's see, rename the font and give it like, add a 1 on there, okay, and then we just drag over whatever font you have from the USB drive, put it in here, and just rename it OCRB10. That's really dumb and hacky way to just load whatever font you want on there. If you want to look into the code, if you're comfortable with going into the code and changing things up, you can also do it more aesthetically. The code of this is in SRC, and the way you'd go in there is you go into ofapp.cpp. Of course, it's still going to auto run if we load up Genie, but you can see up here in ofapp.cpp in setup, myfont.load, this line right here, 78. This is where it tells you to look into fonts folder, which is inside a bin, and the name of this. So if you just change this line right here to whatever you loaded in, if you want to be more aesthetic about it, that will work too. But yeah, so that's a real bare bones way to like go in and change the font. And yeah, so let me know in the comments what you'd like to see from this in the future. Keep in mind that any future development on this and all of the other ones is, sort of reliant on how this Patreon thing turns out. So yeah, subscribe to the Patreon if you're interested. Tell your friends to do so if they're interested in it as well. And yeah, as always, have fun and bye.